Sitting here today, it's interesting. I never really saw this moment of storytelling. Man, life hits us all. It just comes for us. You never know what a day's going to bring, what a season's going to bring, what an era's going to bring. I remember when Lifeway Women first approached me about the Luke and the Land study, this idea of filming all of the teachings in the Holy Land. My first response was no. And that no sat in me for quite a while. And the reason is as somebody who loves the land of Israel so much, she is a part of me. As somebody who's been in the land for so many years, the thought of bringing lights, camera, action to it, it didn't quite feel true to me. I didn't know, I love being no makeup, sweaty in the land with the Bible and dust all over me, and with the team just taking in the Bible in its world. Text in context, the Bible in incarnational space. Israel always, for me, is the shifting from being a reading saint to a beholding saint. I've read the Bible my whole life. I grew up with parents who were followers of Jesus and in the church, but being in Israel, experiencing the Bible with my five senses, sitting in places, smelling things, seeing things, hearing things, touching things, tasting things that Jesus would have known 2,000 years ago as he walked this earth. It has been so transformational for me. And I just had a really difficult time envisioning bringing cameras and makeup where I could smell my face, as I always say. I thought it was going to feel like a conflict for me. I couldn't make that quite make sense. And I was walking Chester in the mornings with my coffee, and just slowly the Lord was saying, just Kristi, you're supposed to do this. You're supposed to say yes to this Luke in the Land Bible study. And so there came a point, as often as we walk with the Lord, he calls us to things that don't quite make sense to us in the moment. And so I would say that I submitted to it. That first yes to lean into this idea of going to Israel and filming all of the teachings for a Bible study. And I might say that I was sitting in my body, but standing in my heart. It still didn't quite. I said yes to it, and I remember telling my friends, I don't know what this is going to be like, sort of bringing the lights, camera, action to Israel. Is it going to make sense to me? Is there going to be harmony and wholeness, goodness and delight? Will it feel at all the way I've always felt being in the land? And man, timing is such a crazy thing. You think about the timing in your own life. It's not just what the living God is doing, it's when he does it. When he just intersects time and space for us. And, it just so happened that September of 2023 was when we were scheduled to go film. In Israel. I believe we were there like September 1st to the 9th or 10th or something like that. And I remember getting to Israel that very first night. We were staying in Tiberias, right on the Sea of Galilee. And just being with the team that I know and love so much, I felt such safety because I was with my people there doing this thing. And I remember getting to my room that night, sort of the eve of the night before, just these multiple days of filming in the land, something I'd never done before. So as familiar as Israel is to me, filming in Israel was going to be a brand new adventure. And that ancient question in my heart of, is this going to feel right? Is it going to make sense? I knew that was getting ready to be answered the very next day. And so I remember getting a cup of coffee that night and going out on my balcony, just overlooking Tiberias and just being still and quiet and just saying, Lord, I submitted to this. I said yes to you. I'm going to give it all I've got. I don't know what this is going to feel like tomorrow, up, down, all around. But I'm going to take you by the hand because it was at your voice and your command that it was a yes to do this. And I just remember like taking in that moment of agreement, submitted to the Lord. And the next morning, I think Chrissy was at my door at 3:30 a.m. or something to style me, which again was just a new moment. I could smell my face in Israel, curly hair, ready to go. And one thing that really met me early in that filming project was our very first filming, tip of the sword, straight out of the box, the genesis of this filming experience for me. We were up so early because we did a sunrise filming on the Arbel Cliffs overlooking the Sea of Galilee. It is one of my absolute most favorite places. Every time I am there, I can feel the Lord there. My hair is even standing up on the back of my neck right now because I can feel in my body. I have such memory there. So we're all up in the night driving in the bus to get to the top. And then when we get there, it's getting all the equipment out, and I'm feeling good, and I'm feeling hope and expectation and a little bit of trepidation, like, okay, here we go. And then there came that moment, and the very first thing I ever filmed ever in my life in Israel, just early in the morning, before the sun was even really coming up, was me walking up the Arbel Cliffs to the place where we were going to film the teaching. And it just felt peaceful to me, and it felt right. I've said for years that I felt like my calling is to be a bridge between the Western church and the worlds and lands of the Bible. I want to be that bridge that gets people to the land to experience the Bible in its world, text, and context, to see it shift from reading to beholding, to taking in the best and truest story that's ever been told, the story of the Bible, in the very places where it happened. And I remember we had that entire filming that morning, and just my heart felt like it was about to come out of my chest. This feeling after so many years of taking people to Israel, that all of a sudden I'm doing something that's going to bring Israel back here for people who may never have the chance to go to Israel, who will never have that opportunity to go. And that surprisingly has been a new thing for me, because my core passion would always be to be in the land with people. And there's so many stories that I could tell you about just who the living God was, so faithful to us, to our entire team while we were there in September of 2023. And we came home from that filming project, and all of my friends were sort of looking at me like, was it okay? Was it good? You all right? You know, they knew just so much of the questioning in my heart. And I just remember just recounting so many of the stories, but just saying it was right. It was absolutely something I was meant to do in this world. This was a gift I was meant to give to this world. And that was really settling in me. And then just 3 weeks later, October 7th happened. October 7th, 2023, a day that will go down in history for the Jewish people. It's known as the bloodiest day since the Holocaust for them. And on that day, on October 7th, I was actually sitting in the Newark, New Jersey airport waiting to board my flight to go back to Israel. I was going back with Lifeway. We were scheduled to take a little over 300 people on a biblical study trip there. And I remember sitting in the airport, eating something and drinking coffee, and seeing my phone light up, and it was my airline notifying me that my flight had been canceled due to unrest in the region. And I remember just feeling that same heart in my chest that had been beating just 3 weeks earlier on the cliffs of Arbel at sunrise. I could feel it breaking. Because of all of my years of going to the land, they never cancel flights. And I knew something horrific was going on, that they would cancel our flights to Tel Aviv. And then in the coming days, we came to know much more of what happened just on that horrific day. October 7th, it is a date. It is tattooed into my soul. I'll never forget it. And the Lord was just meeting me the month of October, because I was supposed to be in Israel that entire month, so I felt displaced. My body was not where it was supposed to be, and then just hurting as more and more news came to light. And I can remember just walking Chester and praying and being like, Lord, you've got to talk to me. You've got to talk to me right now, because the world is shaking. The world is upside down. All is not as it should be. And just the timing, the fact that we were in the land in September of 2023, I am struggling this project through, submitted to it. But it was really after October 7th, because even as I sit here right now, I've not been back to the land. Lord willing, I will go back many times, but I've not been back since that filming trip. And I would say that the Lord he's just been doing this work in me of moving that submission to surrender. And for me, the two are different. I think we submit to the Lord. Sometimes we just have to agree before we really agree. We have to do the thing by faith, stepping into it out of our love for God, our fidelity to Him. But the surrender in it was me really coming to know and understand that the Luke and the Land project, filming in Israel, writing that Bible study, all of it, it wasn't something that I needed to do sort of with like grit in my soul. It was really supposed to be a shalom in my soul. It is moving into alignment, not just my body doing the thing that I know I'm supposed to do, but my heart really coming and being in alignment with it. And I have had this profound sense since October 7th that the Lord, who sits enthroned above the heavens and the earth, who sees and knows all things, knew that October 7th was coming and saw fit to have us in the land just a few weeks before in September to be able to capture what we captured. The first few clips that I've been able to see, I didn't know that we could so faithfully capture the land in fidelity to her and to it, and to put it on a screen. And now I know that we can, and we have, and we did. And I feel really proud of it because we did it. There's a whole team of us that lived those days together. Man, the laughter, the hilarious stories that you will hear about over time, but the deep grief and lament that has come since October 7th. The Lord met me with a passage of scripture since that time of October 7th. It's Romans 12, and it's verse 21, and it simply and yet profoundly says, do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. And I've just been thinking a lot about our bodies, the theology of the body, that if bodies can do such bad in this world, then bodies can also do such good. And now I'm in this submitted and surrendered place with Luke and the Land. I'm so excited to see her wrapped up and given to the world on August 2nd, 2024. It's another date that I think will live in me. But our bodies got to do good in September of 2023. We had a chance to capture the Gospel of Luke and its very world. So many of those stories that we read about in the very places where Jesus walked. And He is our hope. When the world is shaking, He is our hope. That even as I'm sitting here crying right now, remembering and thinking through all these things, Jesus is making all things new. And He is turning things right side up in ways that we can know and in ways unknown to us. But I think about Jesus and Women, my very first Bible study. with Lifeway Women. I think about Gospel on the Ground with Lifeway Women, and all of those intro videos were supposed to be filmed in Israel, and COVID happened and we couldn't get there. So there's just this long history of writing these studies and filming them here, there, and yonder. But there's something different about Luke in the Land. There is something incredibly and extraordinarily and spiritually different about this Bible study and what the living God has allowed us to do here. I think about King David in the Old Testament. There's this moment where he's told the living God he's going to build him a house. And the Lord is like, no, you're not. I'm going to build you a house. Your son's going to build a house. It would be Solomon who would build the temple in Jerusalem. But there's this moment where it talks about that David went in and sat down. And he said, who am I? And what is my family that you have brought me this far? And I've been thinking about that moment because I feel that with Luke in the Land. Who am I? And what is my family that God allowed me to be a part of this? And in spite of me, when I was telling him, no, I don't want to do this. I don't want to wear fake eyelashes in Israel. And by the way, I didn't have to. But I just think of the Lord's patience with me, that he sat with me in my no. He sat with me so patiently in my unsubmitted state. And just in his kindness moved me to that submission that allowed me to say yes to it. And then gave us all, our whole team, the gift of being in the land together, drones in the air, lights, camera, action. The day that we filmed in the Sea of Galilee, our entire team was in the water. It was amazing. And just that togetherness, it's like a thing, you could never do on your own. You could never do it alone. But everybody's hearts, everybody's souls, everybody that was there, the way we just came together as one, just followers of Jesus doing a thing together for God's name and for his renown in the world. And just that the Lord saw all of that for me. Way back when I was telling him no, sometimes I just think the Lord grins when he's dealing with me, because it's like, K-Mac, just say yes. Just give up and say yes and lean into it. And I'm just glad that I did. And I'm glad he was just so patient with me, even when I was submitted and writing it and going. But the way that he's been so faithful to move me from no to submitted to surrendered to now this deep and profound sense of purpose and joy and shalom in it. That's who he is. That's what he's like. He takes us as we are. And as we walk with him, he transforms us more and more into the image of his son, Jesus. So I cannot wait for the world to see Luke in the Land. I cannot wait for them to bear witness to who Jesus is, what he's like. And part of why we read the Gospels, part of why we keep taking them in, is if Jesus was doing it for them, he's doing it for us. And so in this, we take heart.